Erisa, it was stated very clear by the Commissioner Varhey that EU will start talks with Albania on EU membership, even as negotiations with Macedonia stall. Even the bids for EU had previously been coupled. Bulgaria is the reason, as before the dispute with Greece. Why EU supports Bulgaria? Do you have an answer?
Well, let's say that for the moment, member states consider that this is an unacceptable situation, that North Macedonia is being held hostage for bilateral reasons. Before, it was a couple of years just for the name of the country. And now it's just because of the questions linked to language and history. And let me tell you that with all the information that we have from the 26 other member states, nobody supports Bulgaria, nobody. They find the situation unacceptable because they consider that the country cannot be hostage in the process towards the European integration just because of problems between a country with a member states of the European Union. So this problem has to be solved between Bulgaria and North Macedonia, but the process of EU enlargement, and namely starting the EU official negotiations with North Macedonia, has to go on. And just yesterday, we had again a position of the member states. An EU diplomat said that according to the High Representative for the Security and Foreign Policy, Josep Borrell, the EU wishes to see both countries to start the first IGC as soon as possible, meaning in June, you know. But let me tell you very clearly that this is, for the moment being, even the Commission considers that the decoupling might be an option. This is not possible in June, unless the situation between Bulgaria and North Macedonia changes, unless there is an agreement between Bulgaria and North Macedonia. And why? Because Albania is still not in the position to fulfill the 15 conditions that you member states, you know, has asked for the country in order to open the accession negotiations. So this is a wishful thinking from the Commission. It's a kind of pressure that the Commission wants to put on Bulgaria. The other member states want to put this pressure on Bulgaria, that the country finds finally an agreement, but in June, this is impossible to have it. I mean, the only country that might have a green light in June is North Macedonia, if there is agreement between Bulgaria and North Macedonia.
Right, Risa, you're coming from Albania, but still, are there any countries, is there any country which would support Macedonia, which will have some influence over Bulgaria and could convince Bulgaria and influence over the other European countries?
What I have just said, that this is a means of pressure on Bulgaria. So that's why the Commission is saying, listen, Bulgarian authorities, if you don't want to go on, if you don't want to find an agreement, so we can continue with Albania. Even this is not possible right now. They know it very well, but they use it as a kind of pressure. The same kind of pressure comes from the member states. Of course, there are member states and the Commission. They are talking to Bulgarian authorities in a very regular manner from the start of the Portuguese presidency in January, so a deal can be found between Bulgaria and North Macedonia. They have done it, they are doing it. They have waited for the Bulgarian elections to have place. Now they have taken place. The new government is to be seen as a constructive government to have an agreement with North Macedonia. The pressure is being done, but we still don't know how the Bulgaria will use this, because unfortunately we have a bitter taste of member states using their power inside the European Union to the candidate countries and to say, oh, if you want to go on with your European integration, you have to do concessions, and you have to give me this, and you have to give me that, and this is completely unacceptable. Everybody's saying it, but the problem, Biljana, is that the decision making in the European Union is such that we cannot go on without unanimity. So everybody is saying this is unacceptable, but they cannot do anything unless Bulgaria accepts it, because they need unanimity in order to have this negotiating framework approved, and then to go on with the first IGC with North Macedonia and Albania if it's possible.
Well, if there is no chance to give up the veto, Bulgarian veto, there are some opinions that EU's credibility will be undermined if Macedonia delays joining the EU. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, everybody says this, that this will be a catastrophe for the European Union, because just before, I mean, North Macedonia is the example of a country towards which European Union has been so unfair, so many years, you know, spread just for the name and now for the history and language. I mean, who could imagine this? Who could believe this? Who could, you know, accept this? Nobody accepts it. But the rules are such that we need unanimity. And yes, the credibility of the European Union will be undermined, because with this example, every other member states can use the same tool and say in the future, no, I don't agree. For example, Greece can do it with Albania and say, well, you have not fulfilled the rights of minority, of Greek minority in Albania, so we veto you. And we can go on like this. And this is completely undermining the credibility of the enlargement policy of the European Union. It cannot be like this, because the two sides are interested to have the Western Balkan countries within the European Union. Why? First of all, giving the green light to two countries will be a good sign for the two countries, for the region, because the region can see, you know, finally, we don't have only Serbia and Montenegro on the EU path advancing, but we also have North Macedonia and Albania. So it means that the process is going forward. You know, it gives a kind of optimism, of enthusiasm, of belief in this process. Otherwise, why the citizens of Western Balkan countries would believe in European Union? Why would they believe? And secondly, the European Union, it will be some kind, let's say, undermined again, because I mean, it's supposed to be, it claims to be the first superpower in the Western Balkan countries. And if they don't do that, that means that they are not. So they claim that they don't want to let Russia and Turkey and China to have their power in the Western Balkan countries. But if you are unable, if you are so poor and so, you know, weak not to solve those issues, of course the others will play their game and will have the actual power that they have. So whether, you know, you solve this and show that you are able to tackle those issues and to give a real sign to the region that we are there, you are in the European continent. So we are dealing with this. We are not going go on stuck in this situation anymore. We're dealing with this, or you have to accept that you are weak and other powers will play a very dangerous game. This European Union knows it very well, so it has to find a solution. But let me just well, say for your audience how the situation is for Albania, because here we have a wrong perception. We have the perception that Albania is more advanced than North Macedonia. No, that's not the case. You have 15 conditions for Albania, and the first one for the member states is fair and free elections in an electoral reform according to the OSCE ODIHR international standards. What we have seen during the elections in Albania, it was as we now, I used to hear in Albania, it's electoral massacre, meaning this was confirmed by the OSCE itself. They said that there are many breaches and many irregularities happening in these elections, which are unacceptable. Why? Because first of all, they have found out that the state has used the public administration for the elections. So that means it's a party state. They have used all the public administration, all the the sources of the public administration, putting pressure to them in order to bring 10 votes per person working in the public administration. Second, there was a big scandal with the private with the privacy of the coordination, personal data, and this was condemned also by OSCE. I mean, there was 900,000 persons that find out that their personal data were openly discovered, just made public, and also we discovered that there were about 9,000 persons who were engaged in order to influence those 900,000 persons. So it was a breach in every European country. If you have those personal data going public and everybody knows who you are, who your affiliation is with the party or the governments, your address, your everything, in every European country, this government, should go on immediately, And then the issue that I'll tackle, it will be the vote buying. And so the OSCE has said, the public administration was used. It's very worrying to see this. The personal data were used, very worrying. Vote buying, very worrying. I mean, how can you consider these elections as free and fair? That's why I was insisting on this, Biljana, just to say that it will be absolutely very difficult for member states to say, oh yeah, I mean, those elections are okay for us. So you just now, we accept, you have fulfilled the conditions, and Albania can go on with the first IGC. No way until now, I can tell you, from the sources that I have, I mean, it's impossible to consider those elections as free and fair because of these breaches and irregularities, and that's why there is no chance for Albania to have the first IGC in June. Commission wants it. Why? Because just to put pressure on Bulgaria, but it knows it very well, it's impossible. Even Commissioner in charge for enlargement and neighboring policy, Oliver Varhey, said in Tirana, listen, we have to wait for the final stage of the elections, which is 28th of May, because this is the date that the OSCE ODIHR will certificate the elections, and we will have to wait for all the complaints, all irregularities, all the vote buying issues to be addressed. And then we go on. But Biljana, we know that this process will take time. And the parliament, the new parliament, has to be convened only in September. So we cannot see any possibility, any opportunity for Albania to have the first IGC before September. No way.
Okay, thanks. Great. Erisa, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this interview.
Okay.